What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another Amazing Spider-Man read and review. This time we're going to be looking at number 30, Legacy number 924. Woo. By Zeb Wells. If you're new to this, what this basically is I read the comic, show you some pictures from it, kind of give you, the whole big synopsis of it, and then I talk about it after as a review. So if you're into that kind of stuff, quickly, really quickly, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and then, yeah, let's get into this book. So, as we see where we last left off, where Dr. Octavius has Norman, and he injected him with the Goblin Serum. As we see Norman struggling with it, we see kind of basically this point where Norman says, I've already injected so much of like the antimatter into it, right? Like it's not going to matter because I have so much coursing through my veins. It's really the evil within me that kind of activates that serum, which is kind of an interesting like point to it, where versus where if you have evil thoughts, the serum will take over in an evil way, and I guess it counteracts itself if you know you've turned a new leaf, and that's basically what Norman's saying here is, hey, I've turned over a new leaf. That's why this is not going to work. Basically, we see Doc Ock saying, like, fine, you're useless to me. I'm going to kill you. Next, we see a panel over where Spider Man is basically taking on the old Doc Ock arms and is kind of on a rooftop with James Jonah Jameson, right? And basically saying, "Yep, it's time. I gotta go find him." But basically, because the spinal like interlock of the old arms is basically telling Peter where to go, right? So we see him basically we cut back to the lab where Dr. Octavius is trying to throw Norman slowly into his reactor, right, where he's gonna die. Because basically at this point, Norman doesn't have a suit. He's not. He's basically vulnerable in this position. And right, just in the nick of time, we see Spider-Man break into this area with Doc Ock, basically like seeing him with his old arms, and he says, why do you sound like that? Why do you sound like me? Because Peter's kind of like whenever Peter's talking in this essence, he's sounding like Doc Ock because it's almost like the interlock of the old arms is kind of making him. So it's really really weird. So basically, you hear the word dolt a lot, right? And they kind of play on it that they're both calling each other dolts, and then they have this little fight sequence that basically with both the arms, which is pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that was the big selling point to me. A little blurb here that I've been liking about this mini arc here or whatever you'd want to call it is the fact that you have you kind of like the arms against the new arms. It's kind of cool. Basically, they're wrestling around a bit, and at this time, obviously, Norman realize or not Norman, Doctor Octavius realizes that he's dropped Norman, and basically has Spider-Man in this clutch because he takes the new arms, which are basically how they're like kind of octoids on top of each other, as we've covered in previous issues. They kind of go off of Norman and surround the old arms and kind of have him wrapped in both arms at this point, and they're inching Spider-Man closer and closer to that reactor that he was going to put Norman on. And from there, we see Norman saying, "Well, now you've even the playing field basically because now you're useless. You don't have your arms on you." And we see Norman basically just take a nice punch at Doc Ock and send him out. Basically, Spider-Man was able to, after that punch kind of knocked him out, was able to retract it, and all of a sudden you see, him talking to Norman, and Norman's got like, just jarred up, right? And Spider-Man, stop! What are you doing? And Spider-Man's like, huh? Looks down, and he's almost choking Otto to death. And basically, they're trying to get the arms off Spider-Man, and the arms are like not wanting to come off, and you could kind of see it's like hinting like, hey, if you keep these on for much longer, these are going to do more harm than good. So finally, they get him off, and as that whole scene is happening, Norman says, "Oh look!" And the octoids of the new arms have taken the unconscious body of Doc Ock to like an escape tunnel. Then finally, after all that, we see this kind of post scene where Norman's all bandaged up and bruised up, talking about this little quip of how Kamala Khan was like a good person, kind of like that this served as a nice little distraction from, yeah, obviously the death of Ms. Marvel, which we've seen, I what 5 ish, 6 or 4 issues ago, I would say, right, four. And yeah, basically ends on that kind of somber note. And like, next up, that's what it is. So, what did I think about this? Well, this kind of ended the arc, so to speak, that little mini arc or 4 issues, whatever you want to call it. Um, it seemed a little bit like filler, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie. Wasn't my favorite thing. Definitely had potential, but something was just a little bit of a miss to me. Doesn't mean I hated it by any means, but wasn't the best. Kind of was, what it was. But next up, we got a super, super huge issue of obviously issue number 31, but more importantly, issue number 925 is the legacy numbering. And I believe that this is like a 92-page issue or something. Of course, we're going to be covering on here. So if you guys are getting ready, do yourself a favor. Subscribe now because, it's probably a key idea right there. And if you are trying to get caught up with any videos or any issues, just go back into the playlist that this is in, and you'll see that I kind of do them one by one. So, go check them out and check out all the other content on the channel. And until next time, see you later.